5, 4, 3. Hi, everybody. Dugroz here with Dugroz Reports, reporting live from my house. Today is Saturday, July the 11th, 2026. Thank you to everyone who is joined in. I see 16 people on board. Let's take just a quick peek at the roll call. I see Vincent Pascal is here, and right away drops a $1.99 super chat. Celebrate. Thanks, Vincent. Appreciate it. Calderds, we're doing roll call. Absolutely. There you are. Family Travel with John. Good morning from OKC. Good to see you. Stinky Monkey Baby. Hi, how you doing? AS1234. Hello, everyone. And Coder Carell. Good morning. Happy to see you all. Let's go ahead and start how we normally do with our Dugroz data points. But before I do, click the thumbs up button. That'll drive more people in here to watch it, and we'll see how quickly we can clear 50. Today's theme of the day is cottages.com. That's Wyndham's hidden gem rewards program. Vacation rentals you can get in the United Kingdom, and I'll share some of the things I know about that. All right, time for the very first Dugroz data point, and that comes to us courtesy of friend of the channel, Ron Byrne, who lets us know there's a new elevated Hyatt credit card offer. Instead of the normal 60,000 points, you can earn up to 75,000 points. Learn more. Well, instead of learning more by clicking the button, let's see what Frequent Miler has to say about it. Hat tip to them. They say up to 60,000 bonus points. But the advertisement said 75,000. Well, what are the details? They let us know that this new offer gets you 45,000 points after spending $5,000 within the first 3 months. Pretty normal. Plus an additional 1 bonus point up to a total of 15,000 of spend in the first 6 months. It's worth noting that, as with most Hyatt offers, this one is shadily advertised as up to 75,000 bonus points, but that includes the 15,000 that you would normally earn at 1x by spending 15K on the card. That is rather shadily advertised. So yeah, I would call that more of a big spend bonus than a welcome bonus. So I think the welcome bonus is 60K. And then for the first 6 months, you earn an extra 1x on everything. Whoop-de-doo, up to $15,000. So yeah, don't like that method of advertising, Chase. Please try again later. 30 people now on board. UGA Dogs says, good morning. Good morning. How you doing? And Brown Crayon says, morning, morning, morning. How'd you pick the username Brown Crayon? That's kind of an interesting name. Thanks for sharing. All right, moving right along here. This is a personal data point that I have to share. Whoops, shared the wrong screen. Let's share this one. There we go. Here's a screenshot from my Hilton Honors Surpass credit card. So on June 29th, as the quarter was approaching the end, I went over to a Hilton property, a Home to Suites in my general area, and bought $50 worth of stuff. They sold t-shirts, Iowa State football t-shirts, which that's the team we root for anyway, so that worked out. And some chicken pot pies, like Swanson or Marie Callender, something like that, $50 worth. And not an ideal use of your Hilton credit, but if you have the Surpass or another Hilton card that gives quarterly credits and you know you're not traveling that quarter, it's a whole lot better than just letting it go to waste. And it did post just a few days later, retroactive to the same day. So just showing that Hilton credit is usable with a little bit of creative thinking. Craig Howard Kirkland reminds us that there's only 49 days till college football. That first week is always interesting. It's probably some game that no one's heard of or cares about, but because we're so starved and crave for football, we'll watch anything. The Citadel taking on Northwestern North Carolina on a Thursday evening, 2 days before the real season starts. Source King says, good morning. I'm flying. Where are you flying to? DEM says, morning. Thank you for being here. 35 people on board. Keep smashing thumbs up. That helps bring people in here. Ron says, how did you get the Hilton credit to equal $50 exactly? A t-shirt was $40 and a pot pie was $5. So I bought 2 pot pies, 40 plus 5 plus 5, $50. And they told me that taxes are already figured into the prices. So it was easy to hit the 50 exactly. Here is a data point hat tip to upgraded points, and they say you can save $75 when you spend $400 on hotel bookings with this city offer. This is mostly on the Strata Elite, but it might be on other cards as well. Check to see if you have this. I didn't check to see if I was targeted. And the reason this interests me more than anything else is because, with the City Strata Elite, you also get $300 off. Is it 300 or 200? Help me out here, folks. Once a year on a hotel booking of 2 nights or more through their portal. What I'm wondering is this stackable? So let's just say hypothetically, your hotel was $405. You take off your $300 on a net basis. You're only spending $105. Would you still get the $75 credit since it was gross over? I'm guessing not. I'm guessing you would have to make sure the net amount ends up being $400. But don't quote me on that. If anybody has this offer, go look, see if you have it, and let me know if you've used it. Ron says it's $300 off once a year. Thank you. Appreciate you confirming the dollar amount. Vincent says, I used my Q1 Business Platinum Hilton credit on March 31st, the final hours of the quarter, on some travel sunscreen from an on-property spa. I used the physical card and inserted it in the slot to be safe. It worked. Yes. Great point. You can always use it in that way. Like if you're on a trip where your trip goes over the end of the quarter, I've had a few of those. Don't use your first credit of the 2 quarters in question at checkout, because like if you're checking out on April 2nd, that'll count as second quarter. So we got to do what Vincent did. Go to the gift shop front desk, say, hey, I want to pay for this separately. Don't put it on my bill, and do it right there on the spot. Put your credit card in the machine or tap it or whatever. UGA Dog said, I have some big spend coming up, enough to hit the 20K Amex Business Platinum. Would you go for that 300,000 points or spread it across a couple other cards at 424 and Value Chase, Amex, and Delta? I would probably go for that card. I like one big fish more than spreading it out, although I've had to spread it out in the past. I just made my down payment on my roof repairs as part of my summer spend-a-thon on home-related things, and put some of it on my Lincoln Savings Bank card, which is not exactly a heavy hitter, but this is the Elon card. Elon, the U.S. Bank farms out on behalf of other local banks, and 0% interest for the first year. So I have done the whole spread it out on multiple cards things. Don't like it as much. I'd rather just go for the business plat. But hey, it doesn't mean there's only one way. There's more than one way to skin a cat. So you do you. Report back. Let us know what you do. Cesar's here, the man, the myth, the legend. Mi hermano Doug. Thank you, Cesar. Good to see you, brother. Mi hermano Cesar. Thank you for stopping by. Keep on clicking thumbs up, folks. All right, next Dugroz data point here. Again, this is back in the realm of personal data points. Doing a chat with Amex, and this was on my dad's Hilton Surpass card. He needed to downgrade so he doesn't pay an annual fee after having the Hilton card for over a year, the Surpass to the no annual fee card. Long story, I won't go into details on the why part, but I thought it was interesting. In the chat, I asked, if I downgrade my Surpass to another honors card, because he already had one, is there still enough time for the fee to be refunded? And she said, yes. The best part is you will also receive a prorated annual fee refund on the product change. It's like, wait, a refund and a prorated annual fee. Those are two different things. Those aren't the same thing. So I called it out gently and said, wait a minute. It's either a full refund or prorated. It can't be both. That makes no sense. If we change it to Hilton Honors, you'll receive the prorated annual fee. Okay. So I decided to do that. Yeah, he'll end up paying a small annual fee of like whatever it was between the day the annual fee hit and when I actually made this chat, which was less than 30 days. So worst case scenario, 1/12 of the annual fee, whatever that works out to be. It's like that Ron Swanson in Home Depot meme. Hey, how you doing? Can I help you find anything? I know more than you. That's how I felt. I'm sure we've all been there now and then. Here is a deal courtesy or hat tip to Frequent Miler for pointing it out. Wells Fargo right now has a $400 or $550 or $825 bonus for a new business checking account. If you've never had a business checking account before or haven't had one in quite a while, this would be available to you. I have a personal checking account. I don't have a business checking account. Now, years ago, like more than 10 years ago, I was an authorized signer on a nonprofit business account. I was on the board of directors of my homeowners association and was a treasurer for that. I know, insert all the jokes here about homeowners associations. It was one of those things where like literally no one else would do it. So the whole place would collapse if I didn't. It wasn't that I had a jonesing to do it. Wells Fargo has expanded an excellent promotion for new business checking account customers that's available online or in branch. Here are the 3 tiers: $400 bonus for depositing $2,500, and you have to maintain that for 30 days. $550 for depositing $10,000, or $825 for depositing $25,000. This expires on 9/8. So I'm thinking about doing this one. Definitely the $400 attainable. The $551 is borderline. $25,000 for $825. That's out for me, but for you, maybe that is an option. Anybody got their own data points out there about doing Wells Fargo business checking account bonuses? If you'd had one in the past, like more than 2 or 3 years in the past, were you able to do it a second time? Just asking for a friend. Uncle Luke is here and says, Doogie Roy Lynn is live. Absolutely. Here I am. Thanks for being here, Uncle Luke. Hope your morning workout's going well. All right, let's keep moving on. Click thumbs up if you would, please. I've got 44 people on board and wouldn't mind a couple more. Next Dugroz data point comes to us courtesy of Reddit. I'm not a regular Reddit reader or user, but I do lurk occasionally. Here's what some random post I don't know said. Some of the new Wyndham devaluations are live. I was looking at properties in Hawaii, and I better zoom out. And several others jumped up from $15,000 per night to $30,000 per night. The Club Wyndham at Kaʻiokai is now $60,000 a night. I recall reading Wyndham was introducing a 45 category, but there was no 60,000 category. Either way, these are massive devaluations with no more 15,000 per night properties anywhere in Hawaii. Now, I would like to point out this is just one person on Reddit. Someone says, this seems anecdotal, but I checked a number of properties I've booked or been looking at. It looks like business as usual to me. This was not supposed to go into effect until September. So if they are doing devaluations now, it is early or premature. And somebody else says, none of these are new devaluations. Hawaii was devalued months ago, and if their property is 1 bedroom at $30K, why would you be confused that the 2 bedroom is $60K? So this person's saying, and when I went to Doctor of Credit, I believe a lot of people said the same thing. This person's getting confused. He's looking at a 1 bedroom property that's $30,000 per night. If you upgrade to a 2 bedroom property, it's $60,000 per night. Some properties are 2 bedroom only in Hawaii. So like it'll show 30,000 like in small print per bedroom per night at the bottom. But when you go to the details, it's actually $60K. So I don't know if any of you have run into this. Have any of you seen the new Wyndham award chart going into effect already? In case you'd forgotten, the change is that for Wyndham rewards, it used to always be $7,500, $15,000, or $30,000. They're changing their $7,500 tier down to $5,000, which kind of makes sense. Those are mostly the undesirable properties like Super 8 in the middle of nowhere on some highway in northern Wyoming or something. And then they're adding a 45,000 point tier, but I hadn't heard anything about 60, and I haven't heard anything about the 45s going into effect yet. So any crowdsourced data is very much welcome. We have 43 people on board. Keep clicking the thumbs up button. I'll adjust my camera since I'm sitting with bad posture here. Let's see. Who else do we have on board? Anybody that I missed? If I missed you, I apologize. Speak up. Ron says, did you ever get your HOA fee waived by being a board member? A former HOA I lived in did that to encourage board membership. Nope. I became a board member it was a very small homeowner association. There was like 40 townhomes, and it was run by the builder up until a point where they were just like, we're out, and they did a terrible, almost like criminal job with the handoff. It's like, here's a check for $1,200 and a list of names, and that's all you got. So it was like the whole thing was just going to fall apart if some of us didn't take it over. So it would have been a situation where I would have had to vote benefits for myself, and we had a lot of other stuff going on. Ian is here, says, hello and good day. Hey, Ian, how you doing? New Again says, hello all, we made it. What HOA jokes exist? New Again says, Reddit is clutch. The public forum is more important now than ever. Don't deny that. Nuracan says, good morning all. Kevin Wynn says, hopping in just to say hi. Well, hey, saying hi helps the algorithm. So even if you can only stay for a couple minutes, I appreciate it. But you can always watch the on demand a little bit later. Okay, where were we? We talked about that Wells Fargo offer. We talked about the random thing on Reddit. Oh, and here is a fun little follow-up to that Reddit comment. Somebody said this, I thought it was pretty good. Churn and burn, it's not worth anything until you use it. And the follow-up comment was, someone famous once said the value of an unused point is 0. And that's a really, really good point. So all those flying blue points I've saved up and haven't used, those Wyndham points I haven't used yet, those Wells Fargo points I haven't used yet, they're worth 0 until I actually use them. New Again says, waiving the HOA fee for being on the board, nah, sounds corrupt. I can see like a 25% discount, though. I can see it both ways. All right. Next data point. This is a personally sourced data point, but it's just a reminder. This is a screenshot from my PayPal account. I have the PayPal debit card, and I earn rewards on that. I usually use it for 5% cash back on dining. And I just cashed out 2,500 points, which is worth $25. Part of the reason I did that is because in the not too distant future, your ability to redeem PayPal rewards directly into your PayPal account is going away. I don't remember the exact date. I think it's in the middle of August, like the 15th or the 18th. If anybody on board has the exact date or the power of Googling to grab that, let me know. But this is just your public service announcement reminder. You're probably going to want to cash out those PayPal points before that deadline sometime in August. Now, you'll still be able to use it in a roundabout way with like Amazon rewards, but you could argue that's a little less valuable because then you're not earning points on that Amazon spend. Juan is here, also known as Juan in the MIA, and I thank Juan for being here. Thank you very much. I haven't mentioned it much yet, but there are a few different ways you can support the channel. One of them is with making a super chat or super sticker. And another is there's a tip jar, first line of the URL box down below if you want to support me anonymously, or just in a way where a smaller percentage goes to the processor. YouTube takes around 30%. Tip jar only takes around 3%. Mike says nobody wants to be on an HOA board because they get nagged by all the whiners. That is undoubtedly true. I don't want to spend too much time on the HOA side topic, but hey, it's points, miles, and more. This is part of the more. One of my favorite stories was when we first were like declaring that we're going to turn the HOA over to the residents rather than having the builder do it. And basically the builder just chose like 3 or 4 residents, including me, that they knew were generally responsible, and appointed us as like the interim board members until we could have our first election a couple months later. So as interim or acting board members, we held a meeting where it's like all 40, all 60 households, whatever it was. I think it was around 60, could come. These were all townhouses. No, they weren't all townhouses. Some were single property houses on the same HOA. And that was another red flag. Don't mix townhouses and single family houses into one HOA, but that's what the builder did. Like 60 households, and our initial meeting that was just to gin up interest and get people to serve on the board or express any questions they had. There was only like 6 people that came to the whole thing. And one guy was like super gung-ho. I think his name was Scott. We had 2 Scotts. One was responsible but more reserved. One was gung-ho but ended up being less responsible. And the gung-ho Scott was like, we should do this and we should do this. We should build a playground. We need to enforce these codes, and we need to, work together for like a community service thing. We need to plant bushes along the road. We need to sue the builder because they never finished the fence repairs they said they're going to do, and we need to plant more trees. He had all these great ideas like, I've got a background in marketing, so I can help with communication. And I was like, okay, sounds great. Why don't you run for the board? And he's like, I will. I'll volunteer to be the vice president or run for vice president. But when you only have like 6 people show up to the meeting, pretty much anybody who wants to be on the board can be on the board. So the election came. It was sort of a rubber stamp because not that many people ran. And Quiet Scott, the responsible one, was elected as president. Boisterous Scott was elected as vice president. I was elected as either treasurer, recording secretary, or something. And Boisterous Scott never showed up to a single meeting from that point forward and never did anything. He was like all talk and just, he was still living there. He lived there the entire year and just Like, I've got all these ideas and I'm going to do all this marketing. And then like, psych, I'm going to do jack squat. Anyway. Kevin says, are you de facto acting HOA board member? You are de facto acting HOA board member. I'll put that in my LinkedIn profile. De facto board member. I'm pleased to announce that the house I bought 10 years ago is not part of the HOA. Ironically, it's only a few blocks from there, though. Family Travels John said, as soon as they announced the PayPal changes, I transferred everything to my bank account and stopped using the card. It was so disappointing to lose my 5% cash back Costco card. Yeah, I'm basically doing the same thing as you, except I'm going to write it out until the deadline. Hopefully I don't push it too hard. Dad on a Mission is here and celebrates 18 months of membership. Celebrate. Says nothing like HOA drama because HOA drama don't stop. Oh, I see. Kevin said you were like the de facto acting HOA board member in the beginning. I hear you. Mike Newland said, it's always a good day to go out and get the Capital One Platinum card for the record. What is the Capital One Platinum card? Is it one of those like I have bad credit and this is the only thing they'll approve me for, no reward cards? I'm assuming that's why you've got the laughing face there. But if there's something I'm missing, I do miss stuff now and then. By all means, please let me know. Next, Dugroz data point comes to us courtesy of upgraded points. Capital One shopping deal alert, 70% back at Klook. Now, I had no idea what Klook was, so I had to look it up. As far as I can tell, it's basically a competitor to Viator, although I think you can book some actual travel, like lodging through there as well. I did see they had things like boat rides. You know, my wife and I are doing our anniversary trip to Boston later this summer. Boat rides and tours and activities and that kind of stuff. I don't actually use Capital One shopping. Some people said it was also in Capital One offers. Some people said it wasn't. But thinking about looking into it just for that. There was a comment over on Frequent Mile that said it's expired. So I don't really know. Do any of you know? Is the Klook thing still available? Sounds like it could be a pretty good deal. And then if you're looking for that sort of deal on tours and that kind of stuff, Chase, Frequent Miler lets us know that Chase has their own thing with Viator and or TripAdvisor. You can get 8% back on up to $125 of spend. So I've used Viator in the past a couple times for tours and boat rides and that kind of stuff, and it's worked out fine. It does code as travel for Chase, which is especially good if you're wanting to, boom, pay yourself back on the Aeroplan card issued by Chase so that you can get that 1.625 points per dollar on any sort of miscellaneous travel, pay yourself back redemption that I love. So the number one question is, did I get targeted for this? And specifically on the Aeroplan card, I did not. So maybe you did, but go ahead and look at your Chase cards to see if you can get 8% back on Viator or TripAdvisor. Maybe you can. Maybe you can't. Let's take a look here. DEM drops 2 spicy peppers to feed the algorithm, and I appreciate that. And hey, look, we just hit 50 consecutive viewers, or concurrent viewers, I should say. So maybe it's working. Kevin Wynn says, which transferable currency you used only for a year? I'm assuming you mean if I can only use one for a year, which one would I use? Okay, so does this assume that I have a good bank of the currency or not? If you assume that I already have the currency, like I'm just magically gifted 1 million points, I would choose Chase, A, for the Aeroplan caravan technique, B, for Hyatt. Yes, it was devalued, but still there's a lot to be had there. And then you've got your old standards like Flying Blue and British and Virgin that could come in handy. So I would do Chase if I only had, if I was just gifted the points. Now, if the assumption is somehow I have to earn the points myself, then I would go with Citi because I think I'm going to have an easier time earning Citi points. Although if Capital One keeps throwing these random offers my way, maybe it'd be Capital One. Who knows? But I'll say Chase if I'm gifted the points, if I win the 1 million point challenge, and Citi if I have to earn it myself. Kevin wants to know what my oldest credit card is. It's my Capital One Venture X, actually, which I know that sounds a little weird because it didn't exist back then, but I opened this card back in the year 2000. In the year 2000. Excuse me. So it's really easy to remember. 26 years ago. Got it when I was still in college. Back then, it was just a regular old Capital One card. It was like the Capital One card. There was only one. no rewards or minimal rewards, maybe 1% cash back, something like that. And I simply upgraded it at some point. Mike Newland notes 7-Eleven, I'm assuming you mean the convenience store, like let's get a slushie at 7-Eleven, has 10x on Capital One offers in store. That's great. I think there's only one 7-Eleven in the entire state of Iowa, and it's not anyone near me. Mike says, getting Capital One cards, it's like getting Centurion cards, super selective and mysteriously, hard to be invited. That's kind of true. Kevin wants to know what's your highest credit limit on one card, not including the charge card. This feels like the kind of things where like somebody's doing phishing and trying to figure out like how I can steal your identity. I'm guessing that's not the case. But I'm going to pass on that question for now. A, because I don't remember, and B, because I don't want to head too far down a rabbit hole. But thank you for asking. Maybe someday you can put that in the community tab and then I'll consider it. Texas Dog is here and drops $1.99 as a super chat. Celebrate. Thank you for the support, Dog. I appreciate it. Howdy, y'all. Have a happy Saturday. Thank you so much. By the way, my standing offer of a donation of exactly $1.49, as shown on the screen, will get you 1,000 free Dugroz points, which you can use at Bennigan's, Tractor Supply, those kind of things. No way, Hefe. How you doing? Says TripAdvisor gave me a $10 credit on my first booking with them through their app. Viator is owned by them, so they're essentially the same options. Okay, I hear you. Mike Newell says, oldest card for the win, Capital One. DEM says, Mike is drunk on Capital One coffee and tequila. Yeah, and Capital One offers. I think he's going to CVS Pharmacy twice a year. Kevin, what's my biggest ever purchase? I'm going to assume you mean on a credit card, because obviously like buying my house. Biggest purchase ever on a credit card. Actually, I just did recently. On one purchase on a credit card was my new furnace, HVAC, heating, cooling, air conditioning, which was in the neighborhood of, it was a, sorry, I had a little stroke there. It was a water heater furnace combined. It was around $12,000. Put it on my wife's business gold card. Met almost the entire sign-up bonus in one fell swoop right there. That was fairly recent. Yeah, thank you. 57 people on board. Keep on clicking the thumbs up button. Hey, when we get ready for the biology break, that can be our topic of discussion. Your biggest single purchase on a credit card. Not yet. I'll tell you when the time is right. Yuri G's here, says, hi, guys. Hey, Yuri, how you doing? Things are going well for you. We will pause for a few moments and talk about ways that you can support my channel financially or otherwise. First of all, I already mentioned this. Look in the URL for a tip jar link. It's the very first link, the URL. You can give an anonymous donation or just something offline. If you do it while the show is going, if you're, well, anonymous or not, we'll celebrate. If it's anonymous, I'll just say an anonymous person gave this amount. You can also get a channel membership. I have one and only one channel membership level. It's called a Dugroz Diehard. It's only $3 a month. Cancel anytime. If you want to just get it for a month or two and binge watch my over 75 members only videos, you can. I'm showing some on screen right now that'll give you an idea of the kind of thing. A little lighter on content with the members only lately. I am going to double my efforts to get back into that. Thank you for your patience, those of you who are, in fact, members. Excuse me, just a second. I have to blow my nose. Another way you can support my channel is by getting a good night of sleep. And you might think to yourself, but Doug, how does sleeping well help your channel? Well, nerd, I have an affiliate relationship with Nest Bedding. That is a mattress company. And this is the mattress that my wife and I have slept on for more than 6 years. There's a picture of me looking about six or 7 years younger, promoting the mattress. This is over on my alternate channel, Dugroz, not Dugroz Reports, just Dugroz. I used to be heavily into mattress reviews. Now it's just this one company, just Nest Bedding, because they were the winners. They came out on top of all the mattresses I reviewed. I liked them the most. One of their key features is a lifetime renewal exchange. This is on top of a lifetime warranty. Once in the life of the mattress, you can swap out the top foam layer for free. There's a zipper, so you don't have to break the mattress. And I think that's a really environmentally sound way and financially goodly way. May your spending be frugal and all that way of handling a mattress. And then I just released on Monday of this week a new review video called 2 Mattresses, 1 Bed, where basically I show how my wife and I have now tricked the whole world into thinking we have a king-size bed, but really it's 2 twin XL mattresses on one platform. There is a link to that video down below. Hey, if you're a big time supporter of my channel, would you be kind and go watch that video? If you're watching live, don't do it right now. But if you're watching after the fact, just pause it, go watch it, or do it some other time. Even if you're not interested in a new mattress whatsoever, just watching the video helps the sponsor know that I'm serious. Just by clicking the link to go to Nest Bedding tells them that I'm serious, and that'll help me get future opportunities through that sort of venue. It's either that or I could offer Viagra. I mean, you guys let me know what you prefer. Let's keep going here. Thank you, everyone, for your comments. New Again says Venture X is goated. That is all. Kevin Wynn just returned from my vacation from Vietnam from June 1st to 28th. Whoa! That's a 27-day vacation, or 28, depending on how you count it. That's pretty long. No Way says Rakuten is offering 35% cash back at PetSmart on 7/29 for their card holders. You also get PetSmart's reward credit on it. That's good to know. Ian asked Kirby, what kind of weight are you putting up at the gym this morning? Random, but okay. Mike Newland does his thing and gifts 20 Dugroz Reports membership. Celebrate. That's just as good as a $60 super chat. Mike is the GOAT. Thank you so much. Mike wants to know if I can get 1,000 Dugroz points for Cracker Barrel. The Cracker Barrel affiliate we're still working on, but here you go. Boom, 1,000 Dugroz points just for asking. Kevin says rated the bad from 1 to 10. I don't know what you mean by that. I apologize. Texas Dog is celebrating Mike's generosity, as am I. Okay. So that was the first half of the Dugroz data points. Let's now move into the second half, or the final third. Let's say it's kind of like hockey. We've done the first 2 periods. Now we're ready to move into the third period. Or maybe it's like soccer. There's 2 halves, but at the end of the second half, the referee just adds however much time he feels like. We can say that. You can tell you're in a family that only watches soccer when the World Cup rolls around. So this is sort of adjacent to the whole like ways you can support my channel thing, although it's a little different because it's something I actually personally did recently. Upside Taco John's. There's a whole lot of Mexican going on. I feel like I bring this to you like every week or every other week, but earned $1.29 with Upside at Taco John's. That Taco John's, Taco Bell, that's where I'm earning 90% of my Upside money. Upside's an app where you basically, before you get gas or go to certain fast food restaurants or occasionally a standalone restaurant, you just check the app, click a few buttons. It's mostly card link stuff, although some of them, like Taco John's, are receipt upload. And you're in pretty good cash back, 8, 10, 15, 20%. If you want to help out my channel, you can join Upside if you haven't already done so. There's my code right there on the screen, Dugroz8785. Just go to the Upside app, type that in for the referral, or upside.com. It probably gets you there. If you'd rather just click on one of those URL type things, not URL, what do you call it? One of these things. You know what these are. There you go. That's another way you can use my referral link. And I get like 10 cents now and then because other people are using them. And I appreciate that. I also have had some success with Rove. I do have a Rove referral link. Rove is that platform where you can book hotels. They have a shopping portal. You can book flights, that kind of stuff. And many, not all, are loyalty eligible, so it'll flow through to the loyalty program of your choosing. You can see I got 10% referral points 3 different times recently, 30 miles, 137, 28 miles. So whoever or whomevers are doing that, I really appreciate it. Thank you for helping me out. All these links are in the description box. Okay, enough self-promotion. Let's move on. Upgraded Points lets us know that the Chase Freedom Flex card is removing all cell phone protection benefits in September. Well, the name kind of says it all. I don't know of anybody that was using the Freedom Flex for cell phone protection benefits. I don't remember. Did it give you like a 3x modifier on cell phones? I don't think so. So it's not really a big deal, I wouldn't think. But if that is something you're relying on, just be aware. More concerning to me is, does this portend a change that with some of their other cards, they're either going to be nerfing or removing cell phone protection? Who knows? Kevin asked me to rate the bad from 1 to 10. They says the bed from 1 to 10. So the Nest Bedding Sparrow Signature Hybrid Mattress, I would rate it like a 9.7. I'm only leaving the 0.3 because there have been a couple times I've been to like a super fancy hotel and the mattress is just perfect. Like when we stayed at the Salamander Resort in Northern Virginia. That they must have had like $10,000 mattresses there. So got to admit it's not quite that good. But if it's a bed you actually want to buy and sleep in, there it is. Source King says landing is bittersweet. Nice to arrive safely, but you're also no longer flying. I hear you. You heading to Sweden or somewhere else? FLXNY says, don't forget today is 50 cents per gallon at 7-Eleven and Speedway. Is that something related to Upside? I don't have either of those places near me. Mike Newland says, DEM, jump on those members only videos. Absolutely. Thank you. I'll try to get a new one out this week if possible. David William, I know exactly what this reference is. It's all here. Fast kicking, low scoring, and ties, you bet. World Cup soccer always reminds me of that Simpsons soccer episode. It's Mexico versus Paraguay to once and for all prove which country is the best in the entire world at soccer. Sorry. FLX says 50 cents off per gallon. Sorry. Whoa, that's a lot. Chad's Money Minutes here says, yo, thank you for feeding the algorithm, Chad. I appreciate it. Kevin says, in those 27 days, my family did nearly nonstop travel in Vietnam. I hear you. Appreciate it. DM says, your Uber driver thanks you, Miguel Newland. And Mike says, it's the 7-Eleven date. Oh, okay, so it's not a monthly thing. Makes sense. No Way says, some 7-Elevens are Upside. Plus, there's the Venture X in-store offer. All right, so now I got to look right now. What is it? 7-Eleven and Speedway? Okay, 7-Eleven near me. The nearest 7-Eleven is on Merle Road in Des Moines. Okay, so that's kind of out of my way. Wait a minute, is that even right? Because it's pointing me to a Get and Go. I think AI may have actually failed me. Let's click the button here. Nope, that doesn't work. Does Des Moines have 7-Eleven stores? This is really important stuff, guys. I'm sorry. Sorry for the info. Same thing. Google AI says, no, there are no 7-Elevens in the Des Moines area. So first it told me, yeah, it's on this road. And then it's like, no, we don't have one. Anybody else have funny stories about AI giving you mixed messages? Now I ask for speedways, and it thinks I'm looking for like go-karts. Gas stations. Does Des Moines have speedway gas stations? No, there are no speedways or 7-Elevens in the Des Moines area. Okay. Well, sucks to be me. All right. Ian says 50 cents off a gallon of Speedway today. Awesome. Yuri points out the Speedway is owned and operated by 7-Eleven. Ian says the match review video was excellent. I feel so much more informed now. Thank you. If you're willing to put that comment in the video itself, that might help a little. Appreciate it to anybody who humors me in those weird supporting ways. All right, let's go here. Next Dugroz data point. Why don't you buy some British Airways Avios with a 40% bonus until July 16th? And this comes to us courtesy of Upgraded Points. So I want the math, and somebody will probably do the math for me. Upgraded Points did the math for me. What does that come out to? If you buy the most, and it's going to be expensive, I think to get the most, you have to spend like $2,500. You'll purchase Avios at 1.64 cents a piece. Well, does it make sense? That depends on a variety of factors. If you have an Avios redemption in mind you're going to use that's like 7 to 10 cents per point, 100% that makes sense. If you don't have a redemption in mind, I personally wouldn't buy speculatively. Now, the nice thing about Avios, whether it's from British or anywhere else, is you can move your Avios from one Avios using program to another, like Qatar or the Irish airline. All of a sudden, the name escapes me. Aer Lingus or Iberia. You know, any of them that use the Avios, you can shuffle your coconuts around to see which one the little ball is under, and that works out great. Mike says, I just burned through a tank of gas to get to the nearest one, and then you'll need the gas to get the 50% off. I hear you. Source King's not flying to Sweden, just Canada. Merely Canada. I hear you. Okay. Finnair is another obvious program. Thank you, Yuri. Appreciate that. All right. So we heard about British Airways and buying points. Let's hear about Flying Blue Miles and purchasing points. This is also hat tip to upgraded points. So again, let's do the math, or they can do the math for me. If you buy the maximum, which is between 24,000 and 100,000 miles, you get the 80% bonus, and that comes out to 1.69 cents per point or per mile. So again, depends on what you're using it for. You got a massive 10-point redemption in mind, makes all the sense in the world. You're just going to put it in your bank and hold on to it, doesn't make any sense at all. I had a situation where I was going to do a spring break trip to Denmark like 3 years ago and transferred a bunch of points to Flying Blue. Schedule change, fell through. So I've got all these Flying Blue points. I don't know how to use them. Last summer, I used it for like a repositioning flight within Europe for like 1.14 cents per point, which isn't great value. But you know that quote from earlier in the episode, the value of a point is zero until you actually use it. That popped into my mind. So I would rather use a point that I already have trapped in a captive program, even at 1.14 cents per point, than not use it at all. I used it to book like a Delta flight on my last RIP trip, I think. Don't quote me on that. I know I've done it a couple times in the like 1.5 cents per point range. So wouldn't make sense to buy at 1.69 to spend at 1.5. But again, it depends what your redemption is. Yuri said, I've used Finnair a few times. The rates were really good. That's good to know. Mike says, can you earn those points quicker than buying them? That's a good question, Mike. And I don't know the answer. I try my best, and it doesn't always work. And you have to really position yourself carefully. Opportunistically in the world of points and miles, in theory, I have enough available travel savings, like, $1,000 in my travel savings account, that I could buy points if something amazing came along and I needed to. Or I have enough points in various currencies to just quickly pounce on opportunity. So it just depends. Right now, I don't have any new travel bookings coming up where either of those buying opportunities would be sensible or cheaper, but maybe in the future. It just depends on what you need, how much you need, those kind of things. I wish Spaithco was on board because he could give us like a long diatribe about the world of buying points. And he would even say things like, points are never really worth much more than 2 to 3 cents per point, because even the most expensive points you can buy in at X. It's an interesting philosophical discussion that I'd rather not get into right now, but maybe someday. Jim B makes this comment. You miss 100% of the redemptions you don't make. Wayne Gretzky, Points and Miles Hall of Famer. That's correct. If I had a massive heart attack and dropped dead tomorrow, you know how much all those points I have are worth? Probably not a lot. Hopefully, I've left enough instructions my family would at least cash out for a penny each where possible, but I bet you at least half of them would go to waste. Yuri is definitely not buying Avios at that rate. Okay, there you go. All right, next Dugroz data point here. This is hat tip to upgraded points. Again, award alert. Fly Qatar Airway Q Suites from 70,000 points one way. So this is just your Dugroz keeping an eye out for decent redemptions alert. You can fly from the east coast of the United States to Doha in Qatar or Qatar or Gutter or Quitter, however you pronounce that. 70,000 points. They have a lot of availability open. It seems to be from like September of this year through July of next year. So either planning for the early summer next year or for fall travel this year. I don't know that I'd say it's wide open, but from what they showed, there's quite a bit of openness. Now, a lot of times it's only 2 seats per flight. So a family of 4 probably won't work out. Yuri says your family can transfer your points to them in case you are deceased. Yes, but have you ever dealt with the practical ramifications of trusts, estates, that kind of stuff? I can tell you from what I've gone through the last 6 years with my parents, sometimes the best of intentions fall through because you just get so pissed off at things, you throw everything in a dumpster. So just because something can be done correctly doesn't mean it will be done. It takes foresight and planning on my part, and then a willingness on the point of the survivors to make that happen. Someday, hypothetically, when I finally have free time, maybe after my parents are gone, I'll do a video on like points and miles at death, or points and miles if you're incapacitated, like if you have a stroke and you're wheelchair bound or something like that. Not a super fun topic, but probably a very useful topic. Yuri says, I wouldn't fly Qatar these days. Oh, why is that? I know we're at war with Iran, the not a war, and that kind of stuff. But as long as they're not flying over Iranian airspace, would it concern you? It might. I haven't looked into that personally. Last but not least, we have this hat tip to Frequent Miler for letting us know. Capital One offers you can earn 10x miles on Lyft rides and stack that with other partnerships. So check your Capital One offers to see if you have 10x on Lyft. I think this only lasts a week or two, so it might work out for you. It might not. But hey, if you're using those Capital One offers anyway, and you take a Lyft ride, check it out. Now, I've Sorry, folks, I had to reboot my microprocessor there. I've had experiences in the past more than a handful of times where, like, even though I have that Chase $10 off a Lyft ride benefit, going from my house to the Des Moines airport is like 30-something bucks with Uber and 40-something with Lyft. So even with the $10 discount, Uber is still cheaper. Lyft is not always the best option, but if they are the best option, or at least close to the best option, 10 Capital One miles per dollar is not too bad. Yuri says, you always fly via Doha. It's not very reliable right now. Your flight can be canceled anytime. Okay, thank you for the input, Yuri. I appreciate that. You have 20 times more international experience than I do, so I appreciate that input. All right, so I am going to transition to the bathroom break, and during the bathroom break I usually show some sort of media, either a video or audio of something that I've made, some sort of copyright-free music. I don't have anything new. I apologize. So I'm going to leave this up to crowdsource for what we're going to listen to. We can either listen to The Edge of Rewards, which is the boy band song about points and miles devaluations, or we can watch the video about the 1 million point challenge, which is like the point game show from the 70s. And I don't have time to set up a poll, so I'm just going to go with the first 3 comments, majority rule. Let me know if you want Edge of Rewards or if you want the 1 million point challenge, and I'll just use whichever one you say. While I'm waiting for those results to come in, I'll just explain for those of you who might be new around here, what's going to happen next is I'm going to use the bathroom. We're going to consider this to be the biology break, so I'll step away for about 3 minutes. You'll listen to some copyright-free audio and or visual, but please don't go away. While we're doing that, while I'm using the potty, go ahead and discuss what is the largest single purchase you've ever put on a credit card. And I think we have a consensus here. John and Yuri and Ian and Stinky Monkey Baby were all the first 4, although I said the first 3. And they all want Edge Reward, so we'll go with that one. And I will have that queued up in just a few moments. So please just stare at the wall in the back. Don't leave. Tell me what your favorite all-time, not favorite, but what your number 1 largest all-time credit card purchase was. Single purchase on a credit card. Don't go anywhere.
I spent 6 months planning the perfect redemption. Category 4, off-peak, the math was clean. I hit submit and watched the screen go loading. Then Hyatt moved the goalposts on my dream. $5 short on my minimum spending. The welcome bonus slipped right through my hand. I stared into that progress bar like a madman, trying hard to make it understand. I'm living on the edge of rewards, where the points devalue overnight. I'm living on the edge of rewards, chasing airline miles into the light. The pop-up said I'm not eligible. The transfer partner's gone away. I'm living on the edge of rewards, one hard pull from losing my mind today. I found a sweet spot at at a park, hired somewhere, 40,000 points. I had them saved for years. They moved it to a category 7. I refreshed the page through mileage, blogger tears. Wyndham killed the Vacasa redemption chase. Nerf the portal, won't you help me please? My Amex Platinum just got a pop-up telling me the bonus I've been waiting for ain't here. I'm living on the edge of rewards, where the points devalue overnight. I'm living on the edge of rewards, chasing airline miles into the light. The pop-up said I'm not eligible. The transfer partner's gone away. I'm living on the edge of rewards. One hard pull from losing my mind today. They called it a thoughtful program update, a 25% increase at best, 67% on the peak nights. Lord have mercy on the rest. I got 100,000 points to nowhere and a 524 rule in my soul. I was this close to the Centurion Lounge, but they changed the guest fee at the door. I'm living on the edge of rewards, where the points devalue overnight. I'm living on the edge of rewards, chasing airline miles into the light. The pop-up said I'm not eligible. The transfer partner's gone away. I'm living on the edge of rewards. One hard pull from losing my mind today. I just wanted the platinum card. They said I wasn't eligible. I had an 800 credit score. I'll just pay cash.
Okie dokie, Alamagoki, I am back. Thank you, everyone. Appreciate that. We'll catch up on comments here. Let's see. Where were we? Okay. Jim B comments, City Merchant offers are also showing Lyft at 10% cash back until end of September. Good to know. Thank you. New Again said, Qatar just changed award booking policies. Super bizarre. Interesting. Sajar's reminiscing with me the good times we had back in the 90s when we made this song. Ian said his largest single credit card purchase was $32,000 in gold. It would be larger if I had a larger credit limit. Whoa. Nick is stopping in to leave a like and a comment. Thank you, Nick. Appreciate it. Source King says $15,000 was his largest single credit card purchase. I overpaid my taxes to meet the sub on the Amex Business Gold. That's sensible, especially if you time it out near the end of the year. Yuri says, I bought my car using a combination of gift cards and credit cards. The highest charge went to the USBAR when it was 4.5%. The dealer was charging 3% over $3,000. Yeah, they say everything's negotiable. So I've heard some people say they've gotten that fee negotiated away, but maybe they gave you $1,000 off for a really good price. So it's just all part of the whole. But even at that, you're still coming out 1.5% ahead. Lil Roscoe says his largest ever single credit card purchase was a $7,800 one-time spend for funeral services. I'm sorry to hear about that. Condolences. Silver lining, maybe. Chad from Chad's Money says, this is insane. LOL. MLMAO. Oh, you're probably just filled with nostalgia, Chad, because it's been so long since we listened to this together. I'm sure you remember recording it with me and John and Cesar. Was that 94, 95? I can't remember when we recorded this. And Chad says, I'll have to snap a photo of this, send it to Mrs. Money Minutes. Ha ha. I'll just send it to you for free. You can have it. I have the song on Bandcamp. Link in the description box. So if people like this sort of thing, go to dugroz.bandcamp.com. You can buy it. You can download it on whatever your favorite listening platform is. Android Music, Apple Music, Google Music, yahoo.com, GeoCities Music, whatever. Texas is like, you don't remember the studio session, Chad? Yuri G says, which one exactly? I'm not sure what that's referencing. I apologize. Chris Sevi said, I paid for a kitchen remodel at the USBR back in the glory days. Makes sense. Jim B remembers seeing this video on MTV during college. Cool. When were you in college? That'll help me remember. Probably like early to mid 90s, I'm guessing. Luke thinks the song is great. I appreciate it. It's good to have some of my fellow younger Gen Xers, older millennials reminiscing along with me. Ian's going to play this at our meetup in Denver. What's the meetup in Denver? I must have missed something. Bianca says, very catchy tune. Thank you. Stinky Monkey Baby thinks it's a banger. Once again, link in the description box, dugroz.bandcamp.com. It's only like $1.62, $1.62 in honor of the Aeroplan charge. That supports my channel. Actually, I get legitimate. I really do have a Bandcamp channel. This isn't satire. You can actually buy it. Let's see. Yuri says, part of the payment for the car was made with the AT&T Access More via Curve, where all the charges were coded as online, which was the AT&T bonus category. Man, good times. Chad Moneyman also wants to know what Denver meetup. Family Travel John thinks the song is a banger. John says, I can't believe I'm in a boy band. Dream come true. Were, John. We were in a boy band. DEM says the single largest was mid six figures on an ABP. Amex Business Platinum, probably. See, 6 figures. So $1,000, $10,000, $100,000. DEM is a baller. Money, y'all. Texas likes John. Stinky Money Baby says John's ending his world tour in Iceland. Yeah, the Edger Awards boy band is going to go to places like Sweden, Wales, Iceland. I don't know. Where's Cesar's favorite international destination? Maybe Italy for Chad's choice. Hey, Mike drops a $1.49 super sticker. Celebrate. You get another 1,000 Dugroz points. So here, it's in the glasses cleaner. Psh, there you go. 1,000 Dugroz points for you. Don't spend it all in one place. New Again says, I remember when Edge of Rewards, they beat up Backstreet Boys in Japan. Those guys were pansies. We took them down. Mike Newell says, sounds like the Denver meetup is being set up now. Okay, well, breaking news, everyone. Denver meetup coming in from Ian in the near future. Let's see. Ron is a little behind, but said, I'm cooking lunch. Sometimes with blues, I'm assuming you mean Flying Blue, you can use those points to book Delta to the UK. Fits you better. Yeah, absolutely. They used to have a maybe they still do. I'm not sure. Any of my Minneapolis peeps on board? There used to be a KLM route directly from Minneapolis to Amsterdam, and they either did away with it or cut it way back, but Delta still flies that route. Yuri wants to know if mid six figures means $500,000. I suppose you look at it that way. I was thinking like 150,000, but either way, dollar bills, y'all. All right, where were we? Okay, well, we're going to do the theme of the day here real soon. As fun as that graphic is, let's share this tab instead. Today's theme of the day is about cottages.com, which is Wyndham's sort of slightly hidden gem vacation program, and I got to get everything set up and ready to go, so if you'll bear with me here. Sometimes I make these into standalone videos, so it'll sound like I'm doing my 5-4-3 thing. I'll take breaks. Bear with me, folks. Ian clarifies when he talks about Denver, it's a paid meetup in Denver from a churning group. Oh, okay. Something that we're not all automatically a part of. So now I understand it. However, I will see many of you in Charleston over Labor Day weekend. Dong Kim says that picture reminds me of the band All for One. I swear, LOL. That's the idea. All right, here we go. Ready? Cottages.com breakdown. Let's fire up the slideshow, and here we go. In 5, 4, 3. Today's theme of the day, transferring Wyndham points to cottages.com, the hidden gem of Wyndham points for British folks or Anglophiles like me who want to travel to the United Kingdom. And what you're seeing on the screen right now are 3 pictures that I personally took. The second of the 2 times I've personally taken advantage of this feature. This is at a cabin in Wales. Look at the rolling hills. Isn't that beautiful? Yes, it is. So let's clarify a little bit what I'm talking about. What is it? Well, you can book cottages in the United Kingdom for 15,000 points per bedroom per night via Wyndham. Now, you do have to call, but it's actually really easy to find the properties. Just to clarify, there was a time in the past where cottages.com also did business in a few other European countries. There was a very small handful in like Italy. There were some in France. There might have been a handful in Ireland, but now it's just the United Kingdom. You'll see a map in a little bit if you're not sure what that constitutes. These are Wyndham points. You're using Wyndham points to book them. So you earn Wyndham points the same way you always do, whether it's through Wyndham stays, through their shopping portal, whether it's through credit card spend, probably credit card spend. And there are discounts available, so you can get it for less than 15,000 per bedroom per night with certain circumstances that I will review with you in just a few moments. Here are some examples of what you might do. These are the ones that are highlighted by cottages.com on Wyndham's main page. The Heathfield Cottage in Hampshire. You have to use the appropriate accent when you say these. Cairntowan Lodge in Bishop Rock, Cornwall. The Scalby Lodge in Fortescue, Yorkshire. And the Jack Strawbell House in Scotland. I'm not an expert at my various UK accents, but it's weird to think in a country that small, there's like 30 different accents. Now, I won't end up highlighting any of these particular cottages for a couple reasons. One, it's not something I've looked into recently enough. What I mean by that is I have kept a log that you'll see a little bit of them, and I haven't updated that log since like late 2024. Secondly, they charge per bedroom per night. So the goal should be to get the most property you can for the fewest amount of bedrooms. And I'm guessing like the Jack Strawbell house, just looking at, probably has more than 3 or 4 bedrooms. So I do have a very curated way of kind of working through this in my mind. Now, our teacher here wants us to all remember that the Wyndham Earner Premier card launched just a couple weeks ago, kind of a bit of a surprise to all of us. And there is something special about that card, not just earnings, but in terms of discounts. You might remember last week when I reviewed this card, I said something like, if you've got an upcoming cottages.com redemption, it would be almost stupid not to get this card. That's how impactful it is. And the specific impact I'm talking about is the discount that you get because of that card. Let's review. If you have the Earner card or the Earner Plus card or the Earner Business card open before June 17th of this year, you get a 10% discount. So that works out to $13,500 per bedroom per night. By the way, this chart is on Wyndham's own website. You have to kind of dig, but it is there. There's also an older card called the Earner Access card, which no one can get anymore, that gets the same discount. If you have an Earner Business card, like myself, that was opened on or after June 17th, well, no, I have the one open prior to June 17th. I'm sorry. If you have an Earner Business card like myself, but you waited to open it, you have the version 2.0, you get a 20% discount, which works out to 12,000 points per bedroom per night. And if you have their new Premier card, the one I just showed you on the prior screen, the Earner Premier, you get a 25% discount, which works out to 11,250 points per bedroom per night. Now, for the rest of this slideshow, I am going to assume that if you're going to be booking a cottage, you're going to either already have or pick up the Earner Premier card and lock in at that 11,250 points per bedroom per night rate. I will pause for just a moment and catch up on comments here. Sally Beery says, yay for cottages. Had a great stay in the Cotswolds in June. That's another one where you have to pronounce it just like that. The Cotswolds. We're going to the Cotswolds. That's how you say it. That's sort of like their Yellowstone, I guess you'd say. It's sort of like the biggest national park in England. It's kind of in the western part of England proper, not quite in Wales. Yeah, awesome. I didn't know you went there. There's so few of us who have actually used cottages.com, Sally. What did you think? I would love to hear about it. Dong says, they may take our lives, but will never take our freedom. But they will take our Wyndham points, and we'll give it over voluntarily. I'm assuming that's a Braveheart reference. All right, back to the presentation. Sorry. In 5, 4, 3. So this is what their map looks like. If you're not familiar with the United Kingdom, it's kind of this whole Isle of Britannia, plus over here we have Northern Ireland. It looks like there's only 2 properties in Northern Ireland. One up here in the Shetland Islands. There's like 1 or 2 on the Isle of Man. And then the mainland Britannia is just so crowded with properties, you can't even see all of the pins. That's how numerous they are. Here's a different map. This is my map of cottages.com. So prior to my last 2 trips, I curated a list of all the places I was thinking of going. And if you want to take a shortcut in this journey, you're welcome to take a look at my map. There's a link to the URL down in the description box. And with each one, some of the links might have broken because they're older. Some of the properties may have left or may have been nerfed. But at least as of my last update, there's around 100, I think 125, 150 that I have picked out. This is color coded. If you see an orange pin, those are 1-bedroom properties. If you see a green pin, those are 2-bedroom properties. If you see a red pin, those are 3-bedroom properties, so they get more and more expensive. And if you see a gray pin, it's something else, more than 4 bedrooms. I wouldn't do many of those because they have to be really special for me to consider it, but I did highlight a small handful. If you see a blue pin, that is an apartment because they do have some apartments too. And the apartment could be anywhere from 1 bedroom to 5 bedrooms because I thought grouping it that way was better for whatever reason. A couple observations I will make about cottages that are just sort of general here this moment is I know we often think about, like here in the United States, Airbnb and Vrbo, and they are similar ideas. My experience has been, though limited, there's a lot more personal ownership in the United Kingdom. So I think most of these, it's not so much a group that owns the place, it's just some family. Like the first one I went to was a family that were farmers in Wales, and they just built 2 vacation rental properties on their property and manage it and operate it themselves. So there's no corporate involvement other than cottages.com is one of the platforms. A lot of these are cross-posted on Airbnb and Cottages and Vrbo and a variety of other places. Unfortunately, they do sometimes fall off. Like the first property we stayed at, which was beautiful, was the Lundy Lodge in Wales, and that one is no longer listed on cottages.com. Unfortunately, they decided to go exclusively with other platforms. The British do take really good pride in their properties and keep them up really nicely. So at least from what I've had, admittedly, it's only 2, really good service. It sounds like Sally had the exact same experience, so take that for what it's worth. Sally said she rented a cottage last summer and this most recent summer, like a month ago. We got a very large 2-bedroom cottage on a working farm for a family of 5. It was lovely, except for the heat wave. I greatly appreciate your cottages videos. They help so much. Thanks, Sally. Hey, thanks for the kind words. I really appreciate that. I do have a couple of older videos from like 2023 or 2024 talking about this. But with the Wyndham changes, I thought it's time to revise it because the math is going to be completely different. I think I had another comment, but it's escaped my mind, so I'll just go ahead and move on instead here. Let's go ahead and get into some examples. So I already mentioned the very first one we stayed at was called the Lundy Lodge. And yes, you'll see in the bottom left here, I put the sold out sticker because you can't get this anymore. I will take the rates that I paid in 2023 and compare it to the current discount. So I realize this isn't necessarily a real life scenario, but this is what it would have been if I'd had that Premier card with a 25% discount back then. The cash rate was £1,410. That's the British currency. In American dollars, that works out to $1,795 at the time. This was a 2-bedroom property, and we stayed 4 nights, so that's 8 units. Units just means bedrooms times number of nights, because that's what you apply your charge to. Take your 11,250 points times 8, you come up with 90,000 points. And when you do all the math, that works out to 1.99 cents per point. That's pretty good, very respectable, almost 2 cents per point. I know a lot of times people will brag about getting 5, 7, 10 cents per point on flights. It's a lot harder to get 2 cents per point on lodging, and it's really hard to get it on vacation rentals. So since the Lundy Lodge is no longer available, I did notice there's a property just a few miles down the road in Wales. It's kind of in the southeastern part of Wales, not too far from the English border, called the Barnes Owl Rest. And with each of these properties I'm going to highlight, I think there's 6 or 7 of them. I'm going to show you what the cash rate is. I did kind of cherry pick, but not like bad or nasty cherry picking. I cherry picked like when our rate's a little higher. I didn't search the whole year and go for the highest rate, but like because it makes sense. As an example, a lot more people are going to want to stay at a farm in Wales during the summer than in the first week of February. So in that sense, I cherry picked finding these values. These are all actual dates that were available in the coming year. The Barnes Owl looked pretty cool. Look down here in the corner. You got a bedroom with a door that opens right to the outside. Our experience was mornings and evenings were super cool. You didn't even need air conditioning. Another bedroom on the top floor that has these kind of accordion doors. Those are awesome. Cash rate, 937 pounds. US dollar rate, $1,255. This is a 2-bedroom unit, and this one's only available in increments of 7 nights, so that'd be 14 units. That'd be 157,500 points if you had the Premier card. And when you do the math, that works out to 0.8 cents per point. Ooh, okay, well, that's not as good. So now you're seeing why I made the map. There's a lot of variables in the map, and now I remember the thing I was going to say, so I'll go ahead and go back to that now. Why did I go from this giant grouping down to this small grouping? Well, part of it was because A, I only have time to look at some, but B, there are some very specific things I wanted in a cottage. One is at the time I was traveling with my 2 teenage boys, and I really didn't want to share a bedroom with my wife and my sons. So I was looking for a place that either had like a loft or a separate bedroom or something like that, and 2 separate beds. It's very common to see something called a zip and link bed, which is basically like 2 twin mattresses put together, and then you zip the cover together and kind of link it together on the bottom. So it's kind of like a king size bed. Those were great to see. Now for my wife and I, we wanted at least a queen size bed. What you'll run into in the United Kingdom as well as Greater Europe is they have very different standards for what you can sleep on. They consider it to be kind of normal for a couple to sleep on what we would call a double bed, like the full size mattress or the smallest bed designed for 2 people. And if you sleep on one of those, you are unlike me and probably bother your partner severely. So every single place I looked up on this map had at least one bedroom that featured either what they call a king size or a super king size. A British king size is roughly the size of an American queen size. A British super king is roughly the size of what we call a king size or a California king. So in my opinion, unless you want to be elbowing and running into, make sure you get at least a king size. And I've pre-curated that in this list. So that's very important. Also, we didn't insist, but we leaned towards places that had laundry machines. So that's why my list is kind of hyper curated in that sense. I'll pause now and take a break for comments. Source King says, random, the Billy Bishop Airport in Toronto is a cool little airport. I was certain we were heading for a drink when landing, and then suddenly a little airport showed up. That sounds fun. It's sort of like the, what is it called? The Houston Hobby Airport. It's the auxiliary airport in a main city. New Again says, I'm not sure if you've mentioned it, but you have to select from a special website hosted by Wyndham. Can't use the standard cottages.site. That's a comment where I know where you're going, and it's partially true and it's partially not true. Or maybe it's not that it's not true, but it leaves a little something out. When I shop for my cottages, I did use the standard cottages.com website. And up in the URL box, everything has a code for their property. Wyndham does have their own special website that's like wyndham.com/cottages XYZ. And you can use that, but it's not as user-friendly as the cottages.com one. Just be aware that there are a small handful, it's not many, that are not available. And I'll get into more details on why that might be the case a little later. So you could go on easy mode and use the Wyndham website, but if you want to have the more aggressive search options, like everything that I like to do, you can use cottages.com. Just be aware when you call in to make your booking, they're going to ask you for the code, and it'll be right there in the URL, the cottage number, and it may or may not be available. Hold that thought for why. Sally drops a $19.99 super chat. Whoa. Celebrate. Thank you, Sally. And she says, thank you for all the content that helped us book an amazing trip. Oh, shucks. That's why I do it. In fact, I'm just thrilled that somebody loved my idea of cottages.com and implemented it, because I feel like it's such an obscure little travel redemption that I'm absolutely in love with, but it just doesn't come up that option. 62 people on board. Keep on clicking the thumbs up button. Check Raise You says, dang, it's been a while and I see you live. Thanks. Likewise. Yuri says, Billy Bishop is downtown Island Airport in Toronto. Okay, so it's sort of like the London City Airport then. Flying Turtle says, if you plan to close or downgrade a Hilton Surpass after the fee post and are running to get a $50 out of Hot Pockets real quick, or just ignoring the credits for the quarter, closing, downgrading it. I think what you're saying is, if I'm close to downgrading or closing, do I quickly run out and get the $50 worth of Hot Pockets? Yes. So like on my dad's card, I got the final credit, got t-shirt, 2 pot pies, got the $50 credit, waited 3 days, then did the chat to downgrade it. So yes, it is the kind of thing where they're not going to claw back the credit you've already used in that same quarter, even if you've used it. 67 people on board. Keep on clicking the thumbs up button. And now let's resume back where we were. Excuse me. Next up is The Loft at Brackley Hall. Now, this one you have to say just like that. And here's why. Brackley is a town not too far from Oxford, kind of your standard small to mid British town. This is their old town hall. The first floor is now public space. The second floor, I don't remember, it's like offices or something like that. But the third floor with these windows that poke out, I think they call those dormer style windows, and like the cupola, that is like a big loft that's a little bit rustic, but whoever owns this building rents it out through cottages.com. And it's just one big loft space with a big open area. I don't remember if they have one bed or two. I think it's one big bed and then like a futon type bed. But it counts as one bedroom, even though it's the entire third floor of the old town hall. And that's why they call it The Loft at Brackley Hall. Where are you staying? Oh, I'm staying in the loft at Brackley Hall. Now, they might be a little weirded out if you as an American say it like that, but you have to. You don't have a choice. The cash rate on this one is £543, which converts to $727 in dollars. Since it's only one bedroom and you're staying 4 nights, that's 4 units. I prefer a 4-night stay. That seems just right to me. 11,250 points times 4 comes to 45,000 points if you have that Premier card. And if you do the math, that comes out to a very respectable 1.62 cents per point. Next example here is called the Tack Room. And this one is super fancy. This is actually a property that is a listed property. Like they have these grade 1, grade 2, grade 3 National Trust listed properties, which is sort of like here in the US, we have the, what is it? You have a plaque that says like, this has been recognized by the United States as a historically significant property. You're not allowed to bulldoze it and that kind of thing. Anyway, this is on an actual like site that is owned by royalties, is not right word, but like let's say aristocracy. If you're like an earl or a duke, you might own land. And this is actually on a property that was owned by the 11th Earl of Shaftesbury. So it's not that fancy. It's kind of plain on the inside. It's got nice decorations, but it's like hardwood floors and like wrought iron chairs to make it look like the 1700s. It's super expensive because you're basically in a national park or like a listed property. The cash rate comes to £2,562, which would be $3,432 in the United States. It's 2 bedrooms, so if you stay 4 nights, that's 8 units. And 90,000 points if you have that Premier card, which is a steal. And if you do the math on those 90,000 points, it comes out to a whopping 3.81 cents per point. That sounds really good. You're probably all noticing down here in the bottom left corner, I have a sticker that says denied. And this comes back around to what New Again was saying later. There are some rooms, some cottages you cannot book. And there might be a couple reasons why, but the main reason why is as follows. Frequent Miler lets us know that the limit for cottages.com rentals is $300 per bedroom per night. Units costing more than this are not available to book with Wyndham reward points. So if we go back to the prior screen and grab our calculator, here's my calculator right here. You should all have one handy as you're watching my lives. I'm assuming you do. If I take $3,432 divided by the 8 bedroom units, that comes out to $429 per bedroom per night. And if you're any good at math, you'll know that 429 is more than 300. So unfortunately, this one is unavailable, so I won't include it in our averages. So again, frequent Miler reminding us the cap is not changed this time. This was written back when Vacasa was modified. Vacasa is not even available anymore, the U.S. equivalent. I just did some poking around. As far as I can tell, this is still the case. I haven't seen anything that would contradict this. Good news, I did go out and look at Wyndham recently, and it's still on there. In fact, let's take a brief side trip and do that right now, just so you can see exactly what I was seeing, just to prove that this isn't something I personally curated without checking the website. Wyndham.com, scroll down to the bottom, scroll. Okay, here's the listing of all their hotels. And here's their rentals, club resorts, and condos. You'll see right here on the far right, cottages.com. Ding! And it has their disclaimer about their award tier changes, but that's coming up. It does not apply to cottages, the whole 45,000 point thing. We're going to scroll. There it is, cottages.com. Learn more. You can browse the properties here. That's that curated website that New Again mentioned. And you have to call them once you've found the one you want. And if you go a little further, you'll find terms and conditions. And if you get to the terms and conditions and you scroll, free night award for redemption cottages. There it is, 15,000 Wyndham points per bedroom per night. And right here is the chart that I showed you earlier. So just proving that I did actually source it directly from the horse's mouth. I will pause and catch up on comments here. Calder said, I loved the YTZ to Midway route to get closer to Chicago and the suburbs than O'Hare. I'm not sure what YTZ is. Maybe that's that Billy Bishop Airport. Y's are usually something. I know that. Check Raise, you said, what annual fee would you pay to get the old U.S. Bank Altitude Reserve back? Ooh. It depends. Are they upping the credit along with it? So it used to be $325 back, netting out to $75, and it was a broad travel credit. So if they brought back that broad travel credit, would I pay $300 if I got a $400 credit? Yes, I would, Kent. So at least that. I'd have to think about the rest. Thanks for asking, though. Sally Berry talks about the landed gentry. When I talked about the 11th Earl of Shaftesbury, he's landed gentry. Aristocracy. It's sort of like, what was that PBS series that was really popular with the family that had all girls? Somebody's screaming at me right now. I can picture it. Set like in the lead up to World War I. Mike Newland says, can you book a 2-bedroom vacation rental in Europe with Wyndham points? And is the award price based on the number of bedrooms or the total cash price? If you're talking about cottages.com, which is just United Kingdom, it's based on the number of bedrooms, but there is that limiting factor of total cash price. If the total cash price, as expressed in US dollars, comes out to more than $300 per bedroom per night, they axe you on that. And I'll explain a little bit of that in just a few moments. Source King says, I've never flown a propeller plane out of O'Hare before. No business class on ORD to YTZ. Okay, so YTZ is that Billy Bishop Toronto Airport. Yuri says, it's based on the number of bedrooms. And Sally says, Pride and Prejudice. I know about Pride and Prejudice because my wife loves Bonnet movies, but that's not the one I'm thinking of. The one I'm thinking of is, it was on PBS, Downton Abbey. That's it, Downton Abbey, like the landed gentry there. Thank you. Let's see. Source King, Calder says, to Source King, the Porter propeller route only goes to Midway, not O'Hare. No first class of propeller planes, but you make up for it in convenience. Yuri flew on a Cessna and Gippsland Auto in Belize. I was the only passenger on one of the flights. That's fun. All right, let's bring this back around to our Britishy stuff here. Resuming in 5, 4, 3. So now that we saw the tack room where the 11th Earl of Shaftesbury lives, we can think about a hypothetical maximum. I'm not going to include this in my averages, but this helps you know, like, what's the best I could possibly get. So on a 4-night stay on a 1-bedroom unit, we'd be using that $300 maximum. $300 times 4, $1,200. At the $11,250 rate for 4 nights on the Premier card, that would be 45,000 points. And if you do the math for this, this would be the hypothetical best deal you could possibly get, 2.67 cents per point. So if you see me in this video or any future video talking about a cottage where I got more than 2.67 cents per point, you'll know I made some sort of mistake. Likewise, if you see another content creator, whether mistakenly or on purpose, say they got better than 2.67 cents per point on cottages.com, it was either in the past or they're wrong. Now, that maximum was in force when we did our second stay in 2025, but not for our first stay. At some point prior to 2025, there was no cap, and it was just like random properties sometimes wouldn't let you use Wyndham points. Next up, Puppy's Cottage. This is, well, let's look it up on the map here. I haven't actually shown you my map in action yet, so I'll do that now, just so you can see where some of these are located. In fact, I should go back and show you the other ones here. Cottages in England. There we go. Open in my maps. Share this tab instead. Okay. Poppy's Cottage is somewhere over here. I'm thinking it's one of these. Nope. Okay, I better go looking for it. The good news is I can just type it in here. Poppy's Cottage. Boop. Oh, I was a little off. It's down here in Kent. Okay, so there's London. Go to the east and slightly south. Right there, you'll find Poppy's Cottage on this little peninsula that sticks out near Kent Downs. So that's Poppy's Cottage. And then what were the other ones we talked about? The Lundy Lodge is over here in Wales, right there. Lundy Lodge. I did put on here, no longer on Cottages, but it is available at other places. Check out their Google reviews. And then the new one that was like a barn type thing is just down the road, Barnes Owl Rest, right there in Wales. And the tack room is somewhere down here in the southern part of the country. Let's type that in right there. The tack room, just north of Poole and Bournemouth. If you want to stay on the estate of the 11th Earl of Shaftesbury, you can. Okay, so that's good. Let's get back over here and talk about Poppy's Cottage. The cash rate, this was a 3-bedroom one, $1,731, or excuse me, pounds sterling. In the United States, that would be $2,319. You got 4 bedrooms for 3 nights. That's 12 units. That comes out to 135,000 points if you have the Premier card. And if you do the math, that comes out to 1.65 cents per point. I should probably show you a little more detail on some of these here so that you know why I thought these were good ones. So let's go back to Poppy. Oh, not Poopy. Nope, not that one. Poppy. Sorry, folks. My typing skills are failing me here. So let's go ahead and look it up. So just click the little URL in my map. It'll want to redirect you, and you'll click, yeah, I don't mind being redirected. There it is. There's Poppy's Cottage right there. So let's just take a look around. It looks very British. You got a little garden. You're going to have tea there on the table. Look at those lavender and pinkish colors. Very prim and proper. So I envision if you had like an elderly aunt or grandma who was British, this is probably where she would live. Here you got a loft area up here with a bedroom. This is probably one of those zip and link beds. You can see kind of a seam in the middle where you can use it as king size or split it into 2 separate beds. Don't let the pictures convince you of how big the beds are. A lot of times they use very wide angled lenses and they look bigger than they are. Look at that door. Isn't that pretty? That's pretty. I like the fact they've got this little futon bed. Like if you want to take an outside nap, which I would actually do, you have that option. I wonder if they zoom in on it a little bit here. Nope, they don't zoom in on it. But yeah, raise your hand if you would sleep on the outdoor futon and take a nap. I think taking a nap on vacation is really important, folks. All right, moving on with our next example here. How about the Elliott Terrace apartment number 5? Now, this is an apartment. I know you're shocked because it's called the Elliott Terrace apartment. So let's just look that one up here. Elliott, right here, Elliott Terrace. This is down south. So this peninsula that sticks out into the ocean, kind of like Land's End, is called Cornwall, which is a regional. They have their own region of England. They have their own dialect even that's very unique. Some would say they have their own language. Maybe they do. I'm not sure the difference between a dialect and a language. Yes, I am. Sorry, they have their own language. I should have just said it like that. Here it is. Here is the Elliott Terrace apartment number 5. Let's look at some pictures. Oh, bloody good, chap. Look how nice this is. You can look out the window and see a lighthouse. Very prim and proper. I love the wallpaper. That just screams English heritage. Here's a bedroom that would be great for my twin boys. Here's the balcony you get to stare at. Got a little bit of fog, not too much, just like I would expect. Some people out here on the harbor probably listening to 90s yacht rock. This is what the building looks like. I believe it's the one on the left, and you're on the second to top floor, third to top. I don't remember. That picture's broken. There's the lighthouse, some other cromulent buildings, some more broken pictures. And there it is. So yeah, who wants to be seaside? I would love to stay there. Looks like a great place. How does the math break out? Very proper. The cash rate would be £1,503. That converts to $2,014. This is 2 bedrooms. We're going to stay 4 nights. That's 8 units. Using the Premier card, we've got 90,000 total points. When you do the math on that one, that works out to 2.24 cents per point. Remember, the hypothetical maximum is like 2.67. So we're getting there. Hey, this is a good one here. I would love to stay there as well. Now, a lot of the properties are fairly rural. This one's not. This is right in a city or town. It's not a big town, but you got everything you need. So once you get there, you can probably either walk or take public transit. This is one of the few you wouldn't necessarily have to have a rental car to use. More on that in a little bit. I will catch up on comments here. Let's see. QC Man is here and controlling the quality gifts 1. Dugroz Reports membership. That's just as good as a $3 super chat. Celebrate. Thank you so much, QC Man. I really appreciate it. On Yuri's little tiny flight where he was the only passenger, he was seated in the second pilot seat. Awesome. Source King says, I flew Air Canada Ord to YTZ. It was a little propeller plane. I was in the front, but it was all economy seating. Maybe I'll take that flight someday. QC Man says, if you stay in an English cottage, are you obligated to make at least 1 pot of tea when you stay? Not exactly, but you are obligated to do at least one very British thing while you're there. Some options you can choose from would be having a pot of tea. You could also eat some sort of weird food item like a chutney. The last place we went to had this little jar, that little small like jam-sized jar about that big with something called chutney, and I don't know what it was, but it was like a chopped up vegetable medley and like a vinegary sauce. I didn't like it at all, but my wife loved it. So she ate the chutney. They did have unpasteurized milk with like a little not croissant, but like a little pastry type thing. So you have to go out, sit out, not play any music at all, just listen to the sheep bang and eat your unpasteurized milk and eat your pastry. That counts. So if you do something along those lines, you're good. Now, I also heard that with the World Cup being here in the United States, a lot of people from the UK, Greater Europe in general, fell in love with ranch dressing while they were here. And I am all for that because it's hard to find ranch in the United Kingdom and other places throughout Europe. So I'm hoping by the time I go back, ranch will be very popular. So you won't have to be embarrassed by asking for sauces that you don't understand and that they don't understand, and you have terrible sauce-related miscommunications. Coder Carell says, back to a Dugroz data point, I've confirmed that you can use the Capital One Lift offer to load your wallet in-app to carry it over. Hey, that is a super valuable data point. That data point, to quote Rewards Master, it's super valuable. I am going to do that, so let's go ahead and take a screenshot. Thank you, Coder. Appreciate that. Stacy's Travel Point says, good morning. Morning break from yard work. I need to book a cottage soon. Absolutely, and if you do, let me know how it goes. By the way, if you're still on board, Sally, do you remember the name of the cottage you booked? I'll be happy to look it up while we're going if you do. Yuri thinks British food sucks in general. I disagree. It's right up my alley. And Calder says to Source King, that's cool. Is that a new flight for them, or was it a route that got paused due to pandemic? Thank you to the 60 of you who have stayed on board. I really appreciate your loyalty. Even if it's a niche topic, click thumbs up. Feel free to drop a super chat, any amount, or any sort of thing that supports the channel. I would be glad to take. Super chat, super sticker, tip jar tip, anything. I'm happy for all of them. All right, I'm going to resume real soon. Oop, I clicked a button. Resuming in 5, 4, 3. Next option, the barn at Geshi Noe. Although I'm not sure how it's pronounced because this is Welsh. We're just going to say Jelly Nude from now on. It's a lot easier. And this is actually the one we stayed at our most recent trip in 2025. So the first one was called Lundy Lodge. This is called the barn at Jelly Nude. These rates, though, are not what I paid. This is what it would be if you booked now or in the next couple months. Cash rate, 2,140 pounds. Rate in US dollars, 2,867. This is a 3-bedroom unit. We stayed 4 nights. Let's go for 4 nights. That's 12 units. With your Premier card, you're going to pay 135,000 points because you get that 25% discount. If you do the math, that works out to 2.12 cents per point. So we're still above 2 cents per point. I think when I did it, it was actually just a little higher, although I don't remember exactly what it worked out to. No, excuse me. It was a little lower. I apologize. It was like 1.7, 1.8, something like that. But I was only getting a 10% discount. Interestingly, a lot of the rates have changed, some dramatically. And some of that has to do with the exchange rate, which has fluctuated greatly. And some of it's just prices. I looked up one place that was like over 2,500 pounds when I saw it in 2024. And now it's only like 1,300 pounds. So fluctuation can definitely happen. Again, you want to get the most bang for your buck. So you want fewer bedrooms for a higher cash price, but not to exceed the $300 per bedroom night thing. Well, we've done a few in Wales. We've done a few in England. It's time to go to Scotland in honor of Uncle Luke, who said he's going to be taking a trip to Scotland sometime next year. I had to include at least one Scottish property. So this is called Baileyfield. Let's go ahead and look it up. Bailey. I'm just saying out loud so I know how to spell it. Here we go. It's going to be in Scotland. Actually, let's see if I can look it up without actually searching. I think it's one of these. Nope, that's Auckburg, Something Lodge, Coal Hill, Apple Tree, Oakwood. I remember it was very rural. Sunnyside House. Okay, no, I failed. I better just type it in. Bailey. Baileyfield Lodge. And I wrote in my description, best view of water. Oh, man, I was so close. I had to click like one more. It's right over here on the Loch Lomond area. Flying to Glasgow, you've only got that far to go. What is that? I don't have a key that gives me the mileage. I said it looks pretty much perfect other than no hot tub. It's a little hard to get to because it's on a peninsula, so you either have to drive all the way around or take a ferry. Now, obviously, there's probably no public transit going here, but as you can see, it's on this peninsula. So you leave Glasgow, you can't just go like this unless you take the ferry. Now, there is a dotted line, so there's a ferry that goes over to Hunter's Quay. If you're driving, you got to go all the way up here, around here, all the way over here, down past Loch Eck, and there you are, right there. So beautiful, but you're going to want to have a more rural and rustic type of experience if you're going to do that. So we're going to go to the URL here and look it up. Here's Baileyfield. Unfortunately, there's not one shot. I wish they'd taken a shot from the water, like in a boat, looking at both the water and the property. You either see the water or the property. I thought this had the best view. Man, I would love to stay here. This little wall here, for some reason, I don't know why, it makes me think like a James Bond character. Maybe James Bond himself or one of his villains would stay here, sit in these chairs like, hello, Mr. Bond. Do you like my bulletproof safety glass wall of protection? It still allows for the excellent view while keeping me safe from assassins' bullets. Yes, I realized that turned into Dr. Evil. This just looks like a supervillain's lair, but I mean, it's a classy supervillain. Just imagine like Frau Farbissina and all the other advisors, number 2, sitting around the table. Dr. Evil, 11,250 points isn't even that much anymore. Our legitimate business alone brings in 100,000 points a year. Nice bedroom. Here you can see one of those zip and link king size beds. You can see that little crevasse right in the middle. You've also got a view of the water on your semi-private balcony. I say semi-private. You get the whole house, but like just mommy and daddy. Here's a view. It's interesting. There's some random guy in the garden. What a British thing to do. Garden while the photo's being taken. This is the actual ocean, I believe. It's just an inlet from the ocean. That's some nice lighting. A nice little futon. This looks very modern and up to date, but in a super rustic and laid back location. I like the wood. I like the stairs. Actually, the place we stayed at the last 2 times had these kind of like paneled light wood doors. Those are popular. There we go. You finally get to see what it looks like from the front. Dun, 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 dun. Maybe this is Dr. Dugroz's lair. I'll have to go there someday. If anybody wants to drop a $10,000 super chat, I'll commit to it. All right, back to the presentation in terms of the dollars and cents. The cash rate is 2,147 pounds sterling. That converts to 2,877 US dollars. This is a 3-bedroom unit, and for some reason, when I was looking it up, it was more economical to stay 5 nights instead of 4, so I went with a 5-night stay. That would be 15 bedroom units. If you have the Premier card and get the discount, that works out to 168,750 points at a 25% discount. And if you do the math, that comes to 1.7 cents per point. Still very acceptable, still very cromulent. Ooh, before we get into averages, though, I will pause for a moment and catch up on comments. Where were we? Okay, Source King still talking about the little airport and the little flights. Not sure how long it's been around, but it only runs during the summer. New Again says Dutch food has entered the chat. Yuri thinks Dutch is better. I like their herring. Never been there. Maybe I'll love it the first time I go. I got to get there sometime. D Has Dad says, great time to book a trip to England. Virgin just dropped a bunch of 6K economy availability and a 15K premium economy availability. Hey, that's the same kind of deal I got in on it. I think it was $13,500 for a premium economy from New York JFK over to Manchester in the northern part of England. Worked out great for us. Wants to know if the taxes and fees are reasonable. Hey, Uncle Luke is still watching. Good to know. Maybe you can go to Bailey Field. And the word I pronounced as quay is actually key. Good to know. Thank you for filling me on that. Stacy says, oh my gosh, did I need the 007 funny? No. Did I have to put my drink down? Yes. Yes, I did. Yuri wants us to know that herring is seasonal in Holland. Okay, that's good to know. I'm glad you enjoyed it, Stacy. I like to have a little bit of lighthearted levity in my videos as I go. All right. Where were we? Resuming in 5, 4, 3. All right, so 6 examples seems like enough. I did 7 the last time. So this was when I did my breakdown in 2024. The average came out to 1.377 cents per point. But remember, back then, no matter which Wyndham card you had, you only got a 10% discount. So you didn't have the discounts quite as good. And it looks like the cents per point weren't as good back then. I don't know if that has to do with exchange rate, the 25% discount, probably some of both. Everything's become more expensive also, don't forget that. So the 2026/2027 averages, because some of those were booked for yet this year, some were booked for the first half of next year, not literally booked, but the hypothetical bookings, came to these averages. The Barnes Owl Rest, the Lundy Lodge replacement, was the worst at 0.8 cents per point. The Loft at Brackley Hall came out to 1.62 cents per point. Poppy's Cottage, 1.65 cents per point. Elliott Terrace at 2.24 cents per point. Jelly Nude at 2.12 cents per point. I never did the Welsh accent. It's really hard to do. It's kind of like mumbly, a little bit mumbly. Oh, we're going to go on down to Jelly Nude, but I'm Scottish, but I'm not supposed to be Scottish. If anybody does a really good Welsh accent, let me know. I did get to listen to a group of like 5th grade girls sing Happy Birthday in Welsh. That was one of my favorite things. And then Bailey Field in Scotland, out on the quay, 1.7 cents per point. So if you average all those out, 1.688 cents per point. So 2 years ago, 1.377, now 1.688. It's got even better. I will admit this is super non-scientific for a couple reasons. You'll notice some of the properties are the same, some are not. Like, I didn't use the old church because like the value is not nearly as good anymore. I don't know why it dropped in price dramatically. Kümöfen was terrible value to start with, so I didn't seek it out. The Garth House was no longer available for like any dates that I could find, so I had to do some swapping, swap some in, swap some out. But anyway, it's good. Suits me perfectly. Mr. Roz loves it. Dr. Dude can tolerate it. It's good stuff. So it would probably be good to now go over some general thoughts on this. Excuse me while I blow my nose. So there's some pros and cons. Now at Jelly Nude, I stayed in a place called The Barn. They actually have 3 properties. There's the farmhouse, which is the biggest, the barn, which is medium size. That's where we stayed. And then the Bati, which is like an old garage or horse stable that was converted to an apartment. It may have been purpose built. I'm not sure. So this is a picture of the Boti, but it's pretty much the same thing. If you want to get a 1-bedroom, that might be an option. The pro is that most of these are very rural. The con is that most of these are very rural. I know last week Uncle Luke said he's hoping next year to rent a car and just do a whole bunch of driving around Scotland. Not all, but a lot of these you would have to rent a car to get to. I know the one we stayed at there's no public transit. There ain't no Uber taking you there. There's no Lyft. If you don't have a rental car or a friend that has a car or something like that, you're not going to be able to go anywhere. It's even like 1.5 miles to the nearest town down a massive hill. So unless you're really into hiking, you're probably not even going to walk there. So it is very car dependent. Now, Elliott Terrace down in the Cornwall coast, that one, I'm sorry, I'm messing around with Legos. I probably shouldn't. You could get there using some public transit there. I bet there's a train that goes to that town. Southern England is very train heavy, less so in Wales, even less so in Scotland, depending on the part of Scotland you're going to. So it just depends on what you want to do. Man, sorry, folks. Just random coughing fit. No rhyme or reason. That gave me a little bit of a headache. You're not going to find a whole lot of properties in the most populous areas. In my curated map that I've put together since 2023, look at London. 1 property in all of Greater London. And it's not even in Metro London. Like here's Heathrow out here. Go around the corner. Like you get past Watford, nobody would consider that to be London. I guess it's maybe extra big London or greater London, something like that. 1 property. Now, there's more properties than that. If you look over here, here's their map. There are a handful around. There's a couple in London proper. I looked at one of them, and it only had the double mattresses, which is like the teeny tiny mattresses you have to share with your player 2. And I'm like, not doing those. I didn't look at all 10 of them or whatever. So a lot might have changed since I last curated this. But this is more for people that want a little more of a rural experience or a smaller town. There are a few in bigger towns, but for the most part, not so much. Now, again, like apartment number 5 at Elliott Terrace down in Plymouth in Cornwall, that one you can get to with public transit. I did note this. If you're going by car, though, let's say you fly into Heathrow Airport, you're going to have to drive somewhere between 3 hours and 15 minutes and 3 hours and 47 minutes to get there by car. If you're taking public transit, probably even a little slower. So you're looking at like a 4 or 5 hour train ride. Now, the one time I took the train in England, they are very prompt. They kept apologizing for delays, but the delay was like 6 minutes. If you've ever ridden on Amtrak, you know, that's nothing. But you are going to have to allow a little travel in country. So if you only want to see London, if you only want to see Manchester, this is a lot less likely to work out for you. Now, here's another picture of me at the barn at Jelly Nude. This was dumb. I took a lot of pictures of the property. I took a few pictures of me and my family. I didn't take a single picture with me and my family on property. That was dumb. So like one of the few pictures I took was me standing next to the rental car, but you can see the rolling hills in the background. Very lovely, very lovely. So if you want to know how long it takes to get to that one, we rented a car at the Manchester airport, and it said an hour 31. We had to go through a few small towns, slow down. It's probably closer to 2 hours actually to drive there. And that's in somewhat rural Wales, but imagine if you'd gone all the way out here on like the Angsley Peninsula or beyond Lalando or something like way down here, it would have been even more rural. Free tip. I know that you might think, well, people in Wales only speak Welsh. I didn't really run into that. Every single person we spoke to spoke English just fine, so it really wasn't an issue. More pictures of the rolling hills, though. I'm willing to drive 2 hours if it means staying here and having that. There's a little town down here, Trefew, town on the hill. That's what that means in Welsh. Picture perfect. Here's some comments from the last video I did on this well over a year ago. Sally said, I hope Cottages isn't next. And I said, cottages.com is owned by a Waze. Vacasa is owned by Casago now. So hopefully it's okay. And yeah, hey, we've hung in there for 9-10 months, Sally. Here's to many more. So hopefully this isn't going away anytime soon. So yes, if you're going to be traveling to the United Kingdom, England, Wales, Scotland, a little bit of the Isle of Man, a little bit of Northern Ireland, one property on the Shetland Islands, check out cottages.com. Maybe it'll work out for you. And I'm here, so just put a message on any of my old videos or ask me or hit me up on Discord. I'd be happy to give any sort of advice on that topic. Now, you might think or wonder about like earnings and like what's the return on spend. So let's say you have the old grandfathered earner business card that earns 8x on gas. That 8x times our average of 1.688 cents per point comes to a 13.5% return on spend if you know you're going to use it specifically for cottages. Maybe you have the Wells Fargo autograph journey. Remember, about 2 months ago, Wells Fargo announced that they are now transferring to Wyndham 1-2. So all those earning rates are doubled. So let's say you get 5x on hotels, double that, then take it times 1.688 cents per point. You've got a 16.8% return on spend. I mean, that's up around like sign-up bonus territory there. On airfare, 4x times 2, 1.68. That's a 13% return on spend. Even your normal stuff like dining and generic travel at 3x. Now, the autograph journey doesn't have transit, but the autograph does and be the same 3x rate. That's a 10.13% return on spend. Now, someone's going to be careful to point out like, but Doug, why not just buy the Wyndham points? Well, sometimes that is the best option. So let's talk about it. Let's say you do buy the Wyndham points. The recent sales, hat tip frequent miler, have been anywhere between 0.81 on the high end and 0.65 on the low end. I'm going to shoot for their second lowest and calculate that at 0.68 cents per point. That was in October of last year. So if you think about your favorite 5% cash back card, whatever that comes out to, I'm going to use the Cash Plus, rotating categories, things like utility bills, gym memberships, etc. 5%, you can also pick fast food, 5% cash back. And if you divide that by 0.68, which is what you're buying in at, that means every $1 spent gets you 7.35 Wyndham points. And then use that same value I just came up with for my very non-scientific. Here's what you're going to average on cottages. That's a 12.4% return on spend. Most of you probably know this if you've been around the points and miles game any length of time. The more flexible a redemption is, the lower return on spend equivalent. The more restrictive, the higher the return on spend. And yes, I'm sure somebody's going to say, well, this one time I got Qatar Q Suites and it was like 14 cents per point, and I earned that at 3 cents per point. So, Doug, that's like a 48% return on spend. Great. Yeah, whatever. You can always earn better. I'm just saying this is something I like. Are we done? We got a lot of blank cubes. We're done. All right. Thanks so much for listening to the theme of the day. I appreciate it. And if you are watching this after the fact as a standalone video, may your spending be frugal and may your points be plenteous. Thanks. Don't actually sign off. The live stream's still going. That's just the end of this particular segment. All right. Hope that was good. Catching up on comments here. D's that had dad thinks herring is semi-decent. DM wants to know, are you able to see the rates online or do they give them to you when you call? I'm not sure what you mean by rates. The cash rate is available online. So you can do the math and you will know if it's over or under that $300 per bedroom unit threshold or not. The number of bedrooms is online, so you'll know exactly how many points you need. 15,000 if you don't have any of the credit cards, 11,250 if you have the Premier card, somewhere in the middle if you have a different credit card. So you'll know everything you need to know when you call. You'll know how much, as long as you have the halfway decent ability to use a calculator, you'll know exactly what it'll be when you call in. Now, fair warning, I've talked to a few people who didn't know about the 10 or 25% discount, and they will say something like it'll come off automatically, but I would still ask. They're like, okay, so that's one bedroom and you're staying 3 nights, 15,000 per night. That will be 45,000 points. I'll be like, actually, I have the earner business card, so I should get a discount of 4,500 points. That'll only be 40,500. They're like, oh, okay, yeah. Well, we book it for the full rate, and then the discount comes off when it posts, something like that. So you'll have all the information you need at the time you call in. Coder says this is just Wyndham sensor point and not Wells Fargo 1 to 2 calculated, right? Did you type in that comment before or after I factored in Wells Fargo? The cents per point showing on the screen was just Wyndham. QC Man says the rural juror 30 rock joke. I don't recognize that joke, but I have a feeling I know where it's going. QC Man says, do I plan on getting the premium Wyndham card? I do, kind of, with an asterisk. There's nothing about it that is like exciting in terms of earnings. It's all benefits. So there's really no reason for me to get it right now. I would wait till after the first of the year, probably. Or if I knew for sure I was going back to the United Kingdom and doing more cottages.com, then I would definitely get it. I think, was it last week or 3 weeks ago, I calculated something like just getting the card would save me 30,000, 35,000, 40,000 Wyndham points on a redemption that was the same redemption as what I did last time. So again, it would be almost dumb not to get it if you know you're going to be doing cottages.com. Big Kurt 1964 is here. Hi, Dugroz. Hey, how you doing, Kurt? Good to have you on board. Thank you for being here. All right, so that takes care of the theme of the day. The only thing left is the community tab questions. Every Friday evening, usually somewhere between 5 and 8 Central Time, although it can vary just a little bit, I will post something on my wall of my YouTube page called the community tab, and it will be a picture usually. And with that picture, you can guess where the picture is taken, but you can also just ask me any question that is anything you want to ask in the world of points, miles, cash. My phone started playing something automatically. I apologize. Anything you want in the world of cash back, points, miles, etc. And that's a good place to ask sort of those random one-off questions that may or may not fit. Might be about the theme of the day, might not. I do share a picture, and the picture that I shared this time was this one right here. And you can guess where that picture was taken. I know you might be thinking, who's that youthful guy? Is that Dugroz's younger brother or something? No, you can tell by the shirt that it's me. I had a different pair of glasses back then, and I was a little younger. So this is from the past. I won't say distant past, but this picture is from the past, so you can guess where it was taken. Yes, it is carefully cropped, not to give too much of something away. So Yuri says Wyndham Premier is looking pretty good even without cottages.com. Yeah, I agree with you, Yuri. And in case you missed it, last week's video was about the new Wyndham cards, including the Premier. So go back and check that out if you want a broader look at the Premier, not just the cottages.com angle. Excuse me, gotta blow my nose. Yuri's guessing Canyonlands. I think that's a specific national park. No, not Canyonlands. QC Man's guessing Grand Canyon. No, not Grand Canyon. All right, let's see what the guesses online were. Bob Travels made this guess. After a busy day of hiking around Cocosino National Forest, you are going to head into Sedona for lunch at the only McDonald's in the world with green arches. Green? Well, I'll have to check that out, Bob. That's pretty cool. I will give you 500 Dugroz points for the creative guess, but it's wrong, so you don't get the full 1,000. Matt Clausen said, that's just a giant hole in the ground in Arizona. And I said, but which one? And he said, Little Colorado River Gorge. I kid. It's the Grand Canyon. Nope, not the Grand Canyon. Good guess, though. Ron Byrne, friend of the channel, nailed it. I'm going to guess Page, Arizona. Page, P-A-G-E. That's a town in north central Arizona. So far north, you can throw a rock and hit Utah. It's even further north than the Grand Canyon. We stayed there in 2024 on our first points and miles vacation. And I said, seriously, that was also my family's first vacation on points and miles. And the first time I successfully used the rip trip concept, using points to cover the rental car, inn, and plane. That was early enough. I didn't have my net zero thing going on. So I didn't cover food and that kind of and activities, but at least the rental car, the plane, and the lodging. We stayed at a very nice Sleep Inn by Choice Hotels. And I think what I did is I went out and bought like $400 worth of Choice Hotels gift cards using my Chasing Cash or something like that, and then just used cash back to cover the cost, which is a legitimate method sometime. And that was before I was spoiled and always, used super fancy things. But yes, good job, Ron. I will credit it. It's not the name of the exact state park, but Page, Arizona is close enough, so I will credit to you. Just south of Page, Arizona, only a couple miles, there is I think it's a state park called Horseshoe Bend Park. Horseshoe Bend is the Colorado River, but it's before it gets into Grand Canyon. Now, I'm going to say something that might sound just a little sacrilegious to some people. I honestly think it's the nicer of the two. We liked it better than we liked Grand Canyon. Here's part of the view right here. Whoopsie. Accidentally closed the tab. Oh, man, I screwed up my sharing. I'm so sorry, folks. Give me just a second. Share screen, image, share screen. There we go. Sorry. I think it's actually nicer. Here's the Colorado River down here. It does go around kind of a bend. There's part of the bend. You can see it up close. I didn't have any great pictures of it myself. Here is one of my more famous pictures of me. It actually started out kind of cold as the day went on. It got warmer. Interesting, there's like some guy fishing down here. I'm like, how do you even get down there? And this is the actual picture that I put on my wall. I cropped out my wife, but there's a picture of Mrs. Dugroz, also known as Debroz, and I enjoying Horseshoe Bend. The other slightly scary thing about this one is in a lot of places, there's no guardrails. And it said something like, I looked it up online. It's like, this site does not have any guardrails, unlike the Grand Canyon. So just be really careful. Since 1972, 3 people have fallen to their death at this point while taking pictures on the edge of the cliff. So please be careful, or something along those lines. Let's see. Where were we? Big Kurt dropped a $2 super chat. Thank you, Big Kurt. I really appreciate that. Celebrate. Thank you so much for your patronage. If I scroll down just a little bit, Big Kurt became a new member. Hey, that's just as good as a $3 super chat. Celebrate. Thank you, Big Kurt. Hope you have fun splurging all 75 videos. Gary said, I have problems covering food if it's not all-inclusive. Yeah, that's one of the hardest things to cover on trips. Calder says, if you've been to Four Corners, the funny thing is that it's not exactly on the Four Corners. It's a few miles away. Ha ha. I've not been there. Or maybe I was there as a child. I don't remember. To add a little context to your comment, it is kind of true that when the Four Corners, New Mexico, Arizona, Utah, and Colorado were surveyed, this was like back in the 1800s, they didn't get it quite right. So if you looked at the state borders, even though Colorado looks like a perfect square, it actually jogs like a quarter mile as you kind of approach the Four Corners. But that Four Corners spot was marked off long before we had GPS. And although the Supreme Court has not ruled on this particular case, the Supreme Court has ruled in other cases, including with like Canada, Iowa, and Carter Lake, and some other things like that, that if a monument border was marked before we knew it was wrong, and it was honored as such for a long time, it de facto becomes the legal border. I'm getting really nerdy now. I apologize. So saying it's not exactly on the Four Corners is like, it depends on what you mean. Is it in terms of geometrically correct? No. Is it legal? Yes, probably, although I don't know that it's ever been legally challenged. Like if you think of a triangle of land as you approach the Four Corners and you get like, I don't know, say a quarter mile away, and you're standing in that little sliver in the middle of the desert, nothing's around. And like based on the original markings, you're in Utah, but based on the correct geometry, you're in Colorado, and you murder someone in that little spot, I'm pretty sure they're going to go with the original boundary markings. You're going to have to face trial in Utah. which is probably not good for you. Flying Turtle says, just a heads up, when my wife applied for a Barclays card last year, they held authorized user cards that were less than 2 years old against her for their 624 rule. I'm not sure how much of that is rep based. Oh, that is a good data point. Thank you. Yeah, I try not to use authorized user cards if I can help it. QC Man says, honestly, I've expected more than 3 people falling to their deaths since the 70s, but definitely be careful if you go there. I think somebody said there are guardrails now. This picture was actually taken in the year 2020. Do you remember what happened in the year 2020? Well, we had the pandemic, and this picture was taken like February 20th or something like that. This was truly the trip that we took. We literally got home, and then the next week, the world changed. In fact, it was the week before the NCAA conference tournaments. And you'll remember, like, a couple of those conference tournaments, they stopped midstream. One even canceled at halftime of a game. Like, they're like, everybody go home. We're all going to get this terrible virus type thing. So, yeah, this was our trip right before COVID. Source King says, pickled herring is year-round and delicious in Sweden. My wife loved the fish in Sweden. I was like, some I like, some I didn't like. John Gifts 1 reports membership. Celebrate. I don't know why I said reports. John Gifts 1 Dugroz reports membership. Thank you, John. I appreciate that. Just as good as a $3 super chat. You are a true friend of the channel and big-time diehard. Thank you for being one. All right, did we cover everything? Oh, I was going to ask about, let's see, does horse, Horse, shoe bend have railings now? Let's see. Okay, it's kind of hard to read. It says, Horseshoe Bend has metal railings and a fenced viewing platform at the main overlook area, but the vast majority of the 1,000-foot cliff remains completely open and unfenced. The main viewing platform at the end of the trail is flat, features a protective railing, and is compliant with ADA. However, the moment you step a few feet away from the central platform, the cliff edges are completely exposed, requiring extreme caution as you walk along the rim. Let's see. Let's say Horseshoe Bend have deaths. Okay, that's a little bit morbid. Let's find out. Yes, there have been multiple tragic fatal deaths at Horseshoe Bend near Page, Arizona. The fatalities typically are accidental falls from the unfenced 1,000-foot high sandstone cliffs while visitors are trying to get close enough for photos or walking. In 2022, a 29-year-old man from Washington fell to his death after walking outside the safety railing. In December 2018, a 14-year-old girl died in an accidental fall while visiting the overlook. In May of 2018, a 33-year-old man from Phoenix slipped and fell 500 feet to his death. Oh, man, 800 feet. Yeah, that's 3 since 2018, guys. So if you go there, please be careful. There's the, like, view that you normally think of what it looks like. Why is it called Horseshoe Bend? Well, it kind of looks like a horseshoe as it bends around the thingamajig. So, yes, today we talked about pickled herring. We talked about flights on propeller planes. We talked about homeowner association. And we talked about falling to your death while visiting state parks in Arizona. So sometimes we have planned content here on Dugroz Reports. Sometimes we just go wherever the spirit leads us. QC Man reminds us the Big East tournament was in the middle of being played and games got canceled after only one was played that day. Yeah, just wasn't that weird? All right, well, hey, we've reached the end of our content a little sooner than usual, so I'll give you 15 minutes of your time back, as corporate bosses like to say. Thank you so much for joining. If you would be kind enough to click the thumbs up button on the way out the door, and, I forgot to honor the people who made contributions. That would have been bad. Let me do that. Let me thank those who need thanks. Vincent donated $1.99. Thank you so much. Dad on a Mission celebrated 18 months of membership. Texas Dog dropped $1.99. Mike Newland came through strong and gifted 20 Dugroz Reports memberships. Mike Newland then later donated $1.49. Sally Beery dropped $19.99 in honor of cottages.com content. QC Man gifts 1 Dugroz Reports membership. Big Curtis donated $2 and then just a few moments later became a channel member. And John gifts 1 Dugroz Reports membership to a lucky person. Thank you so much to everyone who contributed. I really appreciate it. Calder says to Curb, you get to go home early. There's probably an inside joke I don't know about there. And QC Man is laughing. Remember, just like Chad found out today, dugroz.bandcamp.com. Check that out. Check out my mattress review video if you want to just support me by watching a video. It's in the description box. And as always, may your spending be frugal and may your points be plenteous. Thanks, everyone.